Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the not so weekly English shooting live stream. Thank you very much for joining. Hope you've all had a fantastic past few weeks. I know I have. I've been a busy little boy. Very good excuse, which we will get onto very shortly. But yes, I hope you are all doing well. And if you are new to the stream, then this is your chance to get involved, ask questions, bring up topics, anything you want to discuss, learn more about within shooting within the UK or even internationally. I always do my best to try and answer questions and demystify firearms ownership here in the UK and our firearms law. I know there's a few reporters out there that could certainly do with brushing up on their understanding of firearms law here within the UK. But for anybody that is revisiting or have been here on the stream before, then you know what the deal is. And most importantly, don't forget to hit that like button. It is free. It's right there. It takes 2 seconds. There is literally no reason not to hit it, and it puts a massive smile on my face. And of course, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, then make sure you are subscribed for future streams and also future videos. So yes, it's been a while since there's been a stream, and I would say fortunately there's not too much that's gone on. Certainly nothing that's really particularly pressing. Uh, and the reason, the very good reason for not being on stream is I got married. So yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am now off the market, and there is officially a Mrs. English shooting. And of course, we did have to do the, conventional. What was it? Carrying over the threshold. Unfortunately, Connors wasn't taking no for an answer and decided that I would be the one to be carried over the threshold, and very very apt. So Connors, I think, with sort of no shadow of a doubt, was my choice for best man. So he was my best man for the day. I'm incredibly grateful for his support in the run up to the wedding and on the day, and for actually surprisingly going quite easy on me within his speech. I was expecting far worse, but it was a absolutely fantastic day. And yeah, now I have to settle down and settle into married life. I will have to. Oh no, I've forgotten how to use this thing. It's been a while. We'll have to bring up my my beautiful wife. So we did elect to go for donuts for our cake, but the reason I'm showing this particular photo is because I needed to get something gunny into the wedding, and the venue almost had a heart attack when I had the idea about bringing a Lee Enfield rifle with attached bayonet uh, to cut the cake, which I thought would have been absolutely perfect. And the idea of having a firearm at the venue didn't sit well with them, so we compromised, and instead we cut the cake with the bayonet instead, the ceremonial period correct bayonet for a Lee Enfield rifle. So there's my little hint to shooting and firearms within the wedding, and you can't see it in the photo. I did also manage to sneak a an AK-47 tie pin as well, and I actually have a lot of the a lot of the guests, including Connors and Paul that works at Magload, really chipped in, and Arian as well, who helps run the channel and edit videos. They all brought the cameras and decided to try and film it all ourselves. So I've got all the footage, and you can actually see the moment that my wife realizes that I have an AK-47 tie pin during the ceremony, so that everyone seems to think she wasn't so pleased about it. I think it was more like a, of course he does. But yeah, so that is a very good reason why I've been sort of MIA in for the past few weeks. And thank you everyone as well for your congratulations and best wishes. At least it wasn't a shotgun wedding. Yes, that joke was made was made multiple points during the day. Multiple references as well to obviously the industry that both myself and Connor's work in. So into the meat of the stream. So a few days in the run up to the wedding, I was contacted by a journalist reporter from the Daily Record up in Scotland. I think this is probably doing the Sun a little bit of disservice, but they're effectively like the Scottish Sun. And what really does tickle me is their readership is actually less than the monthly viewership of this channel. So I think that's probably putting things into perspective of the level, the standard of journalism that you or reporting that you can expect from a newspaper like this. And so they got in contact, made it clear that they were going to write an article, and this time they decided that they were going to attack me. Fine, I have absolutely no problem with that. I got a lot of people contacting me saying, hope you're all right, and there was a lot like anybody that did message or gave any sort of support around it. I really appreciate it, but this is sort of what I do, right? You can't go and put yourself online publicly and not expect occasionally that a newspaper, journalist, reporter, whatever is going to pick up on it, right? It's sort of part of what it's just part of putting yourself out there, especially given my interesting past with firearms licensing. I fully accept that I effectively make myself a target. No pun intended. At the very least, they're not picking on really stand up members of the shooting community that don't go out and make themselves sort of public facing. The people that they've picked on and really shone the spotlight to, spotlight on in the previous articles. It's just absolutely disgusting. The fear, the worry and concern that they have caused in these people. And these aren't people that put themselves out there. They all they want to do is shoot. All they want to do is run a lawful club that isn't hurting anybody, that is well vetted by the police, with all its members well vetted by the police. And some second-rate journalists, or a couple of second-rate journalists, decide to basically pick on them. So at least they're now sort of picking on somebody that can give as good as he gets. So speaking of that, let's have a quick delve into the article. Well, before we do, actually, so title: controversial Scots shooting competition allows gun activist with revoked license to take part. So there's nothing controversial about recoil. It's only controversial because a brother of a victim of Dunblane and the head of the gun control network and these reporters say it's controversial, and a couple of MPs that are just trying to swing easy votes. There's nothing controversial about this club. Practical shooting has been going on for decades within England, Scotland, Wales, across the whole of the UK. Why is it controversial? They no one else is saying that, only them. And this whole thing about activists. Now, I did actually go and check the definition of activist, because I have never classed myself as an activist. I think it was Benjamin Zand, I think Ben Zand from BBC Two labelled me as an activist. Sean O'Neill labelled me as an activist, and they're now labeling me as an activist. I guess at some point, if they say it enough times, it becomes true. But activism or an activist is somebody that actively campaigns for political change, and I wouldn't say that's what I do. That's certainly not the base roots of this channel. The whole point of this channel is to share shooting sports, to demystify it, and to help explain the law. And yes, we branch out to reviews, and we become very news and topic heavy. And we talk about the law, maybe what we wish the law would be, we what we don't, where we don't want it to go. So a political commentator, an advocate. I do advocate for changes in firearms law, but I wouldn't say that I campaign. So I really don't like this label of an of activist. It's it just sounds more sexy for them, isn't it? Never let the truth stand in the way of a good article. So Callum Long Collins 31, at least he got my age right. Sean O'Neill couldn't even manage that. Was stripped of his gun licenses 7 years ago after police said his social media had become a forum of extremism. Straight away, incorrect. so so we're off to a good start. They haven't even got into the bulk of the bloody article, and they're getting it wrong. So technically, the police actually never said the line forum of extremism. That was a line used by the then head of Hampshire Firearms, Tony Hill, and that line was actually said, I think, 2 or 3 years after I lost the certificates. What was said was they didn't. It was something about fanaticism, which is the actual line that the judge used. And he didn't call me a fanatic. He didn't say there was fanaticism going on the channel, but it was very much like, it was like the Yoda thing, like passion turns into this, then that turns into this, and then that turns into fanaticism. So that was the only thing. And of course, the main bulk of the reason that, I lost the appeal was down to this, Paris attack video, where I was opening up the discussion about what had gone on in Paris, and maybe alternative ways or methods of preventing or maybe diminishing the damage that 2 people going into a theater with illegally smuggled in full auto AK-47s could do. But yeah, so yeah, I wasn't stripped because it's a forum of extremism, and this forum of extremism line comes due to the comments of other people. So I've never been called an extremist. This channel's never been called extreme, but there were comments from other people, and I'm pretty sure very, very devout Second Amendment activists. There were some really shit comments on the channel. I think one of the comments that was flagged by Hampshire Firearms was there's somebody that said, you should take back your rights by storming Parliament. Which is nothing. I don't endorse that. I don't agree with that. And when I was made aware of the comment, I removed it. But at the time, it was just me doing the channel, and it's one of the reasons that the older videos don't actually have any comments on there, because I just ended up turning all the comments off the videos to prevent stuff like this. And YouTube's sort of filters weren't that good in the early days, and I think I worked out in the time that the channel had been running, it was something like 20,000 comments I'd had on the channel. And I sort of sat there and said, but basically the reason it was 2 years afterwards is just when I had the meeting with them, and they were like, no, we want to see a further period of stability going forward until we look at reissuing your certificates. And it was because of the comments of other people on the channel, which they used to persuade me or strong arm me into removing my application at the time. So the form of extremism was never about me, never really about the channel. It was just about what other people were doing. And I had the discussion with him and said, look, how, 20, I'm one person. This is something I do in my spare time as a hobby. How am I ever going to be able to vet and moderate 20,000 comments? It's just unreasonable. And that's when I actually went on to all of the police channels on YouTube, and I found comments far, far, far worse on official on the official 10 Downing Street page, on MPs pages, across Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, police, even the Home Office. I've got a little folder somewhere of like hundreds of screenshots of far worse comments that are being made on official police channels. So, you know, I don't buy this, you know, you should be held accountable for what other people come onto a free and open platform and say. You know, I'm not YouTube at the end of the day, and YouTube is an open platform. So, you know, so anyway, that's how very wrong that initial statement is. And then it just sort of basically this article, not the best screenshot, I have to say. I wasn't too impressed with that. They could have got another one. Although there was some nice, you know, action shots of shooting. I was quite pleased with these with these with those screenshots. But this is basically the level of journalism here is so low because this isn't anything new. You know, I lost my certificates back in 2016. A lot has happened since then. This, you know, I've been shooting in competitions now. Well, I've been shooting in sort of national level practical matches since 2020, maybe even 2019. Like this isn't anything new, and moreover, it's just a copy and paste article of what Sean O'Neill wrote 4 years ago. It's like, you know, how lazy and unimaginative or lack of imagination do you have to go and find an article that's 4 years old and rip it off? You know, it's just such a I I always got like a little bit excited. Oh, there's going to be. I wonder what new information they're going to dig up on me. And it's like, no, everything that's been covered previously. So I will get on to this. I think this is probably the main point that I want to discuss and maybe expand on and clarify about calling the victims delusional. And I will get on to that. But yeah, it's basically, look, a guy. The long and the short of it is a guy that doesn't have a criminal record, isn't prevented from being in possession of a firearm under Section 21 of the Firearms Act, is lawfully taking part in, you know, internationally sanctioned matches. It's like there's nothing shady going on here, and this whole thing about, you know, this loophole that we're using loopholes again. This is all specific stuff that is written within law to allow people that don't have certificates to be able to take part in shooting sports. How are you meant to prove that you are a competent, sensible, rational person before you get given your certificates if you're not able to go to a club and demonstrate that first? I would say it is actually far more dangerous. You know, what they are effectively, you know, pushing for is that nobody can get anywhere near a gun until you've got your firearm certificate. Well, there's a huge amount of self-policing within the firearms community. And that's why being a full member of a Home Office approved club is such a big element, and yeah, such a big element to assessing somebody's suitability. This is why your club, if you go down the sports shooting route, it's why your club has to support your application, because whether it's 3 months, 6 months, even 12 months to fulfill a probational period, you have to attend that club. You know, some say, you know, once a month, 4 times a month, whatever, in during your probational period before they will sign you off. Well, there's a lot of reasons why that is in place, and it's so that the club can get to know you. You know, what sort of person you are, you know, what's your behavior like, how seriously do you take it, and also how you handle firearms. Are you going to be safe having firearms, unrestricted, unsupervised access to firearms? So the whole the legal mechanisms within the firearms law that allow people without certificates that are not prohibited persons under Section 21. And Section 21 is, the long and the short of it, is basically if you have a criminal conviction and you've served jail time, you are exempt from ever being able to hold a firearm. That's a very, very cut and dry approach to it, but that's the, say, long and the short of it overview. So, basically people that have never been in trouble with the police, don't have a criminal record, are effectively, stand up normal members of society, trustworthy members of society, are able to go to these ranges, get to know the range and the other members get to know them, and that after the period of the probation, the club will make an assessment. The club will either support or choose to not support that individual's application for a firearm certificate. The way the so the reason that this argument of a loophole sort of all falls down, um, is because it's not a loophole, it's not a gap in the law, it's all specifically written in there. And the other aspect of this loophole, which they've covered in previous articles, which, this is the same reporter that wrote the other article. This is a different article. Dunblane Massacre MP wants loophole closed for unlicensed Scots gun clubs. And it was this reporter that came up with this absolute nugget of a paragraph. The Sunday Mail discovered that anybody with a license for certain types of guns is able to set up so-called practical shooting clubs on private land without the need for police, government, or local authority permission and licensing. Somebody with a license can go and do something without a license. What have you been smoking? Right? And the thing is, the license that these people have come from the police. So the police is very much involved in this process, right? And this whole loophole that you can just set up a practical shooting club out of thin air. Well, it's the exact same laws that clay pigeon grounds operate under. So I didn't switch it over, did I? There we go. You can read it now. It's not, what's this, a paragraph rant? The Sunday Mail discovered that anybody with a license can do stuff without, it's absolutely ridiculous. So the areas of law that RICO specifically are operating under is the same one that clay pigeon grounds use. So why is this being focused specifically on practical shooting? If they've got a problem that anybody with a license can set up a shooting club, well, they also need to look at clay pigeon grounds, because it's all under the same heading. But no, practical shooting, it's a bit more sexy, it's a bit more dynamic, and it's easier to scare people with because we don't use over and under side by side wooden shotguns. We use military style, whatever that is, a phrase coined by Sean O'Neill. Would it be better if we painted it pink? When you look at a rack of guns, in practical, there's a lot of black, there's a lot of polymer, fair bit of color actually, but these are all labeled tactical guns. No, they're practical. These guns are made specifically for sport. You've got a Beretta 1301 comp there that was made and developed with world champions within practical shooting. That gun was made specifically for the sport of practical shotgun. You've got a Mossberg JM30, but that was made and developed by multiple world champion Jerry Michalak, and was again marketed and designed specifically for the sport of practical shotgun. These guns weren't designed for military police applications. They were designed specifically for this international sport. So yes, the article overall is just, it's a bit of dross. It's old news, and it's news that has been copied and pasted by the Sean O'Neill at the Times. But there are a couple of just, you know okay, if you say so moments. So of course, I've talked about it more recently that I was elected as the treasurer and trustee for the UKPSA. The UKPSA is the national governing body for practical shooting here within the GB region, and it is recognised by the Home Office as the national governing body of this sport. So I was, democratically elected into the position, and I knew myself. There were people that didn't vote for me. There were people that specifically voted against me. Did I expect 100% of the UK PSA membership to be in favour of me getting the position? Absolutely not. But the outright majority did. So they go into this article and say, there's it's the wider UK PSA membership is not happy. I'm trying to find. Here we go. So it's let me make the article big again. I just sort of want to address this to begin with, because this does start to get enter a little bit into defamation of myself and my character. The UKPSA is part of the International Practical Shooting Federation, which organises and promotes practical shooting in various countries. A source said the wider UK PSA membership is unhappy with this situation, but the organisation refuses to address the matter, awaiting Long Collins to take part reflects very badly on the organisation. Now, when it says the wider, that's for me a little bit funny because the wider UK PSA membership actually voted me in. It might be a minority that isn't particularly happy. And when this journalist got in contact, there hadn't been a single complaint made to exec or council of the UK PSA about my appointment. I don't think there'd even been any public anywhere that certainly I was aware of any public objection of me getting the role. So either this journalist is just making things up now to try and sell newspapers, or there's just a couple of people that their time has passed and maybe they're a little scared of the future and progression, and they're just not happy that somebody like myself that's forward thinking, that wants to help move the association forward to grow the sport, using modern scary methods like Facebook and YouTube, and using e-commerce shops to help raise the funds of the association. That's all too scary, and they object. At the end of the day, my past and my background has been very well documented. I've got nothing to hide. It's very clean cut. Pretty much everything that anybody would want to know about me is out there online already. And I would say I'm probably one of the more transparent members of council and exec. So, sort of what you see is what you get. And people at the AGM had the opportunity to address any concerns that they may have, and nobody brought up the concern of my, not having certificates. Nobody brought up the concern of my previous issues with firearms licensing. So it's sort of like you had your chance to bring that objection, you didn't. You had your chance to vote against the appointment of myself as the treasurer and trustee of the UK PSA, and well, you didn't. So, like, it's people about it's the same sort of people that will moan about the outcome of an election that didn't vote. It's like, well, you had your chance, right? I'm sorry, if you don't go there and actually put pen to paper to vote, you shouldn't really have an opinion on the topic. And lastly, to cover off an element of this, which is this calling the victims of Dunblane delusional. Now, that's not a generalized statement. Here we go. Yet, Long Collins from Hampshire, who called the families of Dunblane victims delusional for their gun control campaigning, was able to take part in the UKPSA 2022 Scottish Masters in Lancashire. Lancashire, I can never say it. Anyway, so this whole thing about being delusional, right? the delusion is the constant wanting of or to push further restrictions on firearms and expecting firearms crime or firearms homicides to drop. There is I use it all the time. The stat, I think it was from the Telegraph, and they were talking about the gun control network and Jill Marshall and Andrews since 1920 or since the 1920s. Every time further restrictions have been imposed around firearms within the UK, gun crime has risen without exception. So if you're trying to reduce gun crime and every time you do something it increases, you stop doing the thing that increases it, right? That's just a logical outcome. Oh, we keep on doing this and the gun crime and murder rate keeps on going up. Well, stop doing that then. It's it's like, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We all know that firearms crime, specifically handgun related crime, skyrocketed after the ban in 1997. It not only did it do nothing to reduce firearms crime or to prevent the tragic events like at Dunblane, it actually made things worse. So, the delusion is the track record of restricting firearms ownership further and the increase in crime, and also just looking at the bare bone facts. Still today, 40%, the single largest proportion of firearms crime, um, is due to handguns. 40% of all firearms crime is committed with handguns. The outright majority of firearm related deaths is due down to handguns. So it's crystal clear if you look at it with a logical, rational head. Restricting firearms, banning certain types of firearms does absolutely nothing to reduce firearms crime and make the public safer. So therefore, if you look at all the facts and figures and decide to live in your own fantasy world where those facts and figures don't apply, then you are delusional. And don't get me wrong, I more than most want to ensure that lawfully owned firearms do not end up in the wrong hands. They are not used in crime. They are not used in murders or horrific events like Plymouth, like Dunblane, like Hungerford, because it reflects badly on all of us every single time. So the last thing we want are these tragic events. My issue and why I get so ridiculously frustrated by the likes of this brother of the victim and Jill Marshall Andrews and the gun control network and even these second-rate reporters from the Daily Record, is that the people within the firearms community, the firearms owners, the certificate holders, the people that are running businesses, that are part of the associations, that are part of the organizations around this sport and firearms ownership, we know what does and doesn't work. We know where the gaps are. We know where we should be focusing our attention. And time again, they ignore that. They don't want to hear from the people that eat, breathe, and sleep this, the people that are, they have expertise in it, they have experience in it. They want to make laws based on irrational emotion, to the point that in the email, so he contacted me for comment, and I did give him a fairly lengthy comment, and there's a couple of extracts from the comment that I gave to him that I thought were very, very apt, and that he should focus on more rather than this old story of me, right? So the coroner stated repeatedly that there were clear and serious failings within firearms licensing to follow and implement the law, ultimately leading to the tragic events in Plymouth. In addition, the coroner states firearms licensing departments require unified training, accountability for their actions, and regular assessment to prevent events like Plymouth in future. The law already provides the necessary mechanisms to prevent events like Plymouth, as it did for Dunblane. Um, and organizations like BASC have repeatedly called for firearms legislation to be written by subject matter experts. They have also continuously pleaded with campaigners, reporters, and politicians to focus on the consistent issues first identified in the Lord Cullen report and highlighted again by Ian Arrow, the coroner from Plymouth, around training, accountability, and assessment of our firearms licensing departments. That's where the real issue is. That is what is costing lives. Is people, it's departments, down like Devon and Cornwall that are allowing people that just on so many levels shouldn't be allowed a pointy spoon, never mind a shotgun certificate. And I tried my absolute best to just like reason with the guy, to be rational with him and say, if this really is about the preservation of life and making the public safer, then this is where we need to be looking at. It doesn't matter whether people can or can't have handguns, whether we ban pump action shotguns. There's still going to be firearms out there. Even if we made every single firearm illegal, it would make an infinitesimal difference to the overall amount of firearms crime and deaths by firearms in this country. The if you want to specifically look at um, lawful firearms and the impact that they have um, with death and crime, even though it makes up such a minuscule amount of it, then at least look at where the real issue is. And every expert, everybody with experience within firearms ownership here within the UK, from the likes of Nick Doherty and Laura Sainsbury's firearms specialist barristers and solicitors, BASC, Countryside Alliance, the NRA, the NSRA, the UKPSA, certificate holders, the shooting media from Field Sports Britain, myself, everywhere you look, in any capacity within the firearms industry, we are screaming from the top of our lungs saying something needs to be done about firearms licensing. And this is what caused Plymouth. This is what caused uh, Dunblane. This, in part, is what caused Cumbria and what, in part, caused Hungerford. Stop ignoring the real issues and being delusional that banning particular types of gun, banning particular types of shooting sports is going to have any difference whatsoever. There we go. I think I kept that one short. Oh no, Callum is going to Mars. Yes, this is the thing. At the very least, I have a platform that I can happily retort to and have this conversation with. So come at me. Like, I honestly don't care. I would have preferred that it wasn't a few days before my wedding. And I am already learning. I'm very smart. I did keep this nugget of information away from my soon to be wife, not to cause any more stress than the day was already going to cause. But I don't care. I honestly, I find it actually quite funny how bad the article is. It's just tragic that, again, they're trying to shift the attention onto something that in the scheme of things is just meaningless, right? When there's actually real issues going on there's real discussions being had, and they want to completely ignore it. Nitsa, thanks for joining. I just read the article. Since when do we shoot human-shaped targets? So, of course, we don't. Within IPSC, it is specifically prohibited from shooting at anything, well, any target that is shaped like anything living, be that a human, be that an animal. And we are also specifically prevented from creating sort of real world scenarios, right? Everything is oh, what's the word? There are a number of people within the association that can do a far better job of explaining this than I can. That's why I'm treasurer. So it's yes, of course, it's prohibited. We're not allowed to simulate real world scenarios within the sport. What I understand happened with their reference to the human shaped targets is that there were some very old targets, I think, actually used for different shooting disciplines that some of the members at Recoil were using. They were poppers. Quite, I think, fairly small steel poppers, and it was the central. I found the video ages ago. It had a central circle on it, and I guess if you squint and had a few gins, you could say it looked like a human. I mean, if you stand there like that, I guess. But they were old targets, and they were not used within IPSC. They weren't used within matches. They were just old targetry lying about that some people were using for training, but they're not IPSC legal. They're not, allowed to be used within practical shooting. But they don't know what they're talking about, and again, they sort of, I guess, had a few gins and squinted at it and said, "Oh, they're shooting at human-shaped targets." It's just like that's not what we it's not what we do. Arian, Facebook isn't modern. Well, for some people, it is very, very modern. There's some people that still can't get their head around emails. Just back from the range, having been a coach, given some coaching to a young lady and her dad. That's good to hear. Well done, Blackstone. We've got to share the sport. We've got to give up our time and get as many people into it as possible. Just a quick side note: if you're watching, we've got like over double the amount of people watching than we have likes. So if you're watching and not liking, why are you watching? So hit that like button. Of course, make sure you're subscribed. I'm going to try and get back on the regularity of live streams, and hopefully maybe this Sunday, Arian, there could be a video. Pretty please. Pretty please. I'm trying to get match videos out as well, but I got married. I'm going to use that excuse for as long as it lasts. Daniel, I'm looking forward to the Callum Story arc. UKPSA returns to Silverstone. You don't like making things easy for me, do you? To be completely honest, and I said this all up into the run up. I have had my interactions with certain range owners. Again, like whatever, what's happened is what's happened. I'm becoming scarily more mature and sensible as I age. It's scary. I think even more so than Connor's now. I seem to be the sensible one, and he sort of reminds me of me 5 years ago, which scares the shit out of me. But I would love to see. It's not necessarily the UKPSA return to Silverstone, but I would absolutely love to see IPSC return to Silverstone. There's far too much division within this sport, and too many different fractions, too many different cliques. Like whatever, I don't care. I don't care if you're young, old. You're from where you live. Who you are, what you've done, what other businesses you're involved in, like whatever. I just want to see the sport grow, and there are a number of incredible ranges, including Silverstone. I've always said how brilliant the range is, and I have a huge amount of admiration for what has been built there. I'm not always so keen on how things are done, but everyone's entitled to opinion. But yeah, I would love to see UKPSA and IPSC return to Silverstone, and again, there are a number of ranges as well that we would love to see more matches being run at. Like as long as it's being done to IPSC rules, as long as it is in keeping with what IPSC should be, then fill your boots. I don't care who, if somebody wants to run a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or wants to go the full hog and try and run try and run a world shoot. R&T, English shooting in the media. You'll probably start seeing articles now saying shotgun used in John Wick movie is also used in UK gun clubs. But this is a funny thing, is that 100% that is the sort of thing that they would pull out and they would try and do. But it's a chicken and egg thing, right? Well, it's not even a chicken and egg. It's quite categoric that, you know, it wasn't that John Wick inspired practical shooting. It was practical shooting inspired some of the techniques used in John Wick. And, you know, the guns that are used, as we all know, are built by Taran Tactical, who is a multiple national champion, might even be world champion. I can't remember, but he's got more titles than you can shake a stick at, right? He came from IPSC. He built these guns for sport, and the methods and the techniques that are used in John Wick aren't actually police or military techniques. They're sport techniques. The whole thing of using, you know, shot savers and quad loaders and stuff like that. You don't see that being used by police and a military. They've used it because it's an, you know, we do a very dynamic sport and it does look good on camera. So yeah, you know, they're going to say, you know, no, it's, you know, John Wick uses guns that have been about for the last 40 years, you know, and does an adaptation of its use. Daniel, paint it pink, you say? Yeah, just not battle worn pink. Oh, never get old. Do we know how the post-Plymouth legislation is coming along? I'm going to be watching this obviously very, very closely. There is a lot of talks going on behind the scenes at the moment. Some of which has been put out there publicly already. We are still very, very early days at the moment. There's still a lot, you know, the coroner report has come out. People are still sort of digesting that, and it's, you know, the government moves incredibly slowly. So it will be a very, very long time since we see any changes in legislation, but there's most likely going to be a lot of consultations. There's going to be a lot of things to fill out, and there is going to be work to be done by us if we want to see or prevent any changes, or make sure that the changes are actually for the good of the sport and shooting. Kung Fu Chef, I need to sign up for IPSC. I have ARs, Semi 223, and handguns. Brilliant. So yeah, full bore rifle in IPSC will use semi-auto. Well, not just semi-auto, semi-auto 223, semi-auto 308. And also manual action, so you can use pump action, side charging, all of that, and of course handguns as well. So playing video games where you pretend to shoot moving living people is fine, but learning a tool safely whilst getting exercise is evil and immoral. I wouldn't put any logic or rationale into their writing, because they didn't. You know, it's yes. Full Rice 13, thank you for the educational content. You're very welcome. I try to make it as entertaining as possible as well. Lose the cap, look older. What do you mean by that? I'm holding on to my youth, David, and plus, you know, the older I get, the less hair I have, so it's a constant. So moving and just talking about law, there is actually something going on that is my sort of favorite catchphrase at the moment, that I've been meaning to make a video on for quite a while. I am actually got a little bit of spare time coming up, so like I've actually got a free weekend for once, which is brilliant. So we might actually get some videos. There's a few things that I've got planned. Well, I'm actually waiting for the conclusion of this before I do a full video on it. A couple of other things, but there's one thing that I thought would be quite fun and interesting. Is everyone's talking about AI at the moment and Chat GPT, and I was going to do a video of how much does Chat GPT know about UK firearms law. Is this channel now obsolete? Can you just go and ask all of your questions to Chat GPT? I don't know. We'll find out. That's just a little. I'm probably just going to sit down. It's probably going to be a little bit of an interesting. There probably might be some surprises, but I'm basically going to curate how good Chat GPT is in understanding UK firearms law. So there's that. I want to get filmed. God, what else has there been? There's been other stuff, and there's always videos to make. But anyway, some of you may remember the firearm safety consultation. If you don't remember the consultation, you may very much remember my reaction to the 2,500 people that actually bothered to put in a submission for the consultation. But this consultation was focusing on, it was 4 key areas: high muzzle energy rifles, air weapons, miniature rifle ranges, and ammunition. The highlights being basically they were looking at banning high muzzle energy rifles, but also, I think at the very least, enhance. The consultation therefore seeks views on what level of enhanced security would be sufficiently reduce the risk of high muzzle energy rifles being stolen and misuse. So it's all around the security of high muzzle energy rifles. Air weapons, it was going to look into, I think it was looking at raising the age and making it basically nobody under the age of 18 could be in possession of an air gun. Miniature rifle ranges, this was to, the miniature rifle range allowed anybody that was not a prohibited person to buy a rifle not exceeding .23 caliber without any checks, without any certificates. So that they wanted to close that off. And ammunition, they wanted to look at component parts and basically make it every component part of ammunition a sort of controlled component. Now, this is actually being sort of debated within, well, it's now in the House of Lords. So I am going to wait for the conclusion of this to do a full video on the update, because of course, this is newsworthy. It's something going on, but it's out of our hands now, right? This is why it was so important to actually respond to the consultation when we were asked to respond to it, because now it's gone through the Houses of Commons. It is now with the House of Lords. This bill is heading to becoming law, right? And there's nothing we can do right now to stop it. So we can only just watch and see what happens. But I wanted to give a little bit of an update of where this currently is, and there has been some interesting additions and suggestions. Fortunately, or unfortunately, actually, in one case, it's been boiled down to pretty much what we expected. So I think this was like the first submission, and it was very interesting where they were going with. So they were adding and taking away things, and they were debating it. So the main thing was basically, this actually gave a little bit of a hint of potentially where things are heading with the any new legislation that may come out of the Plymouth shooting. So before a firearm certificate may be issued or renewed for an operator of a range or gallery under this section, so this is the miniature rifle exemption, the chief officer of police must be satisfied that there is nothing in the social media profile of the applicant for an operator's license to indicate that the applicant is not fit to be entrusted with a miniature rifle or ammunition for a miniature rifle. Now, this was very interesting, because within the guidance and within the statutory guidance to police, there is a mention of social media. But this, I believe, would be the first time it is actually written within firearms law, the whole checking of social media. And this is specifically around the miniature rifle. So if they get this in for miniature rifle, they would expand that to anybody that wants a firearm certificate. There was a bit about reclassifying air guns requirement for air weapons certificate. Yeah, that didn't sound good. Again, this is not how it is. But there was this little bit of a nugget in there that was put in. So to remove the clause, sound moderators in section 57, interpretation of the Firearms Act 1968, omit paragraph 1D. This new clause would remove an accessory to a lethal barreled weapon or a prohibited weapon where the accessory is designed or adapted to diminish the noise or flash caused by the weapon from the definition of firearm in the Firearms Act. So they tried. There was an MP, Greg Smith, that tried to emit sound moderators, suppressors, silencers, whatever you want to call them, from firearms licensing. They tried to get them off ticket. They tried to remove them from being a controlled component. Unfortunately, this didn't go through. So as far as I can tell, this is the current bill. And they're only focusing on miniature rifle ranges and shooting galleries possessing component parts of ammunition with intent to manufacture. So the first bit we've talked about previously, I think, is all quite sensible, right? We don't want people out there running around with firearms like we saw at the full metal jacket ranges without the proper checks and balances put in place. And this basically is going to have but basically make it so you have to have a firearm certificate to be able to run a miniature rifle ranges. So subsection 4 applies to a person at a relevant rifle range or shooting gallery who is not the operator of the range or gallery. The person may, without holding a certificate, have in their possession a miniature rifle, ammunition for a miniature rifle provided by the operator of the range or the gallery. So basically what it does is that the miniature rifle exemption still allows people without a certificate, without being a full member of a Home Office approved club, to be able to go and shoot a miniature rifle, but the person operating the range needs to have a certificate. So places like Double Juice, like the Phoenix up in Barnsley, they should be unaffected because both of them hold they hold firearms dealerships. I believe they also all hold personal firearm certificates. So the business will still be able to operate. There basically be absolutely no change in their operation. Because they've already got the licenses. And I'm pretty sure every single, apart from the likes of Full Metal Jacket ranges, every like commercial miniature rifle range already has an RFD or a personal certificate. Now, one of the big things that was commented on was like scouts, right? The scouts use the miniature rifle exemption quite a lot, and they're saying, well, actually, not a lot of people, within scouts actually have the certificates or the licenses, so they're going to get hurt by it. Well, an organization like the scouts, like the cadets, and all of those, they're well run, quite organized organizations. I don't think it will be difficult for them to go and get a certificate. And when you look at the likes of Full Metal Jacket ranges, like, what would you prefer? People like Full Metal Jacket rangers getting hold of a load of 2.2 semi-automatic rifles, or a scout leader or a cadet leader having to go and fill out a firearm certificate? And to be honest, if a scout leader or a cadet leader isn't able to go out and get a firearm certificate, why the hell are they being in charge of or responsible for young children in the first place? They also want to reclassify. So this whole miniature rifle not exceeding .23 caliber actually means that you could go and buy a 223 under the miniature rifle exemption. It was never intended for that. It was always meant to be sort of 2.2 rimfire cartridges. So I don't think there's anybody out there that has actually gone and bought a 223 under the miniature rifle exemption, but this will make sure that you're not able to. So that's, amicably sensible, right? We sort of, like, in terms of restricting firearms more, you can have that one, right? I'm not going to waste my time fighting that. I don't think it's a huge negative for the sport overall. This, though, is really got people worried. Possessing component parts of ammunition with intent to manufacture. Now, this instantly isn't as bad as what people thought. What we initially thought was that the bullets, the cases, the primer, and the powder would all suddenly have to go on ticket. Now, there isn't an RFD out there that would sell you primers and powder without showing your certificate anyway. But the cases and the bullets, you can just go in usually and buy. And also, a lot of reloaders hold a lot of component stock, right? So they might only have a limit for 1,000 223 or 1,000 308, but they might have 10,000 bullet heads, 10,000 cases, all of the powder, all of the primers. And the fear was that making every single component, a component part, and restricting it, is that suddenly your limits are going to be dropped. Now, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily clear if that is still going to be the case, but the fact that they have made it more about possession component parts of ammunition with intent to manufacture, this whole intent never sits right with me, because it's very, very subjective. It's very hard to prove or even disprove intent. But they want to change it so that possessing component parts of ammunition with intent to manufacture, a person commits an offence if the person has in their possession any component part of ammunition, the person intends to manufacture ammunition to which Section 1 applies using those parts, and were the person to do so, possession of the ammunition by the person would constitute an offence under Section 1, or the manufacture or possession of the ammunition by the person would constitute an offence under Section 3. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be really open to interpretation, but I think overall, people that are collectors, so people that collect blank ammunition, might have thousands of cases, thousands of bullets, aren't going to be affected by this, right? Because they have no intent to manufacture live ammunition that is going to come under Section 1 or Section 3. They're collecting inert rounds, they're collecting blank rounds, whatever you want to call them, whatever flavor. So they should be okay. And if they've got a load of component parts, if they're collecting primers and they're collecting powder, well, it's about, I don't know why you would collect primers, why you would collect powder, but it's not, they don't have the intent to manufacture. And if they are manufacturing anything, they're going to put a bullet into a case and that's it. They're not going to put a primer in, they're not going to put powder. So collectors should be collectors of ammunition should be absolutely safe, in my mind, by the reading of this. In terms of people that home load, this is where it could get pretty tricky. So let's say you have on your ticket 1,000 rounds of 308, but you've got 10,000 cases, 10,000 bullets, 10,000 primers, and enough powder to make 10,000 rounds. You have in possession those component parts of ammunition. You obviously intend to manufacture to what in what Section 1 applies using those parts. But do you intend to manufacture enough rounds over your limit? That is where the argument would fall. And I would hope that the police and firearms licensing are going to be very, very sensible about this. You basically don't need a certificate to be in possession of a bullet, to be in possession of a case, to be in possession of a powder, or possession of a primer. That's not what this is getting at. It's about the intent to manufacture. But as long as you're not manufacturing rounds over your limit on your certificate, I would hope that the firearms licensing and police are going to take a sensible approach and go, yes, you're good. At the end of the day, you have the certificate. If you choose to make that ammunition into Section 1 ammunition, you have the certificate to be in lawful possession of. And at the end of the day, you've got guns, you've got the certificates, you're a trustworthy person. We can trust you not to go over your limit and make more ammunition than you've got permission for. So I don't necessarily know why. Well, the whole thing behind this is that they kept going into, criminals' houses and finding bullets, cases, primers, and powder, and not being able to prosecute them for them. Well, the reason they were able to find all of that stuff is because it wasn't an offense to have it. Right? They weren't going into the house and finding guns, right? And there's been a lot of people that have made the very good point of actually, in trying to reduce crime, or moreover give more powers to police to prosecute people, they might actually be, excuse the pun, shooting themselves in the foot. Because when they go into a house and there's powder and primers and cases and bullets, yes, they can't do anything about it, but they then know that there's going to be a gun about, right? It's a pretty clear indication if people have ammunition components lying about the house. What usually comes with ammunition components? A firearm. So it actually tips off the police that there is definitely something going on there. By making it an offense to have any of that with the intent to manufacture, they're just going to hide it with the gun. So which means they're going to bust into these houses and not see any trace of firearm or ammunition. So in some ways, there's an argument that they're actually going to make the criminals be more cognizant of hiding any traces or hints that there are firearms about, and make the police's job harder. So I again don't like it's trying to give the police another mechanism to arrest people with. What effect it will have, I don't know, but I think overall, it should have very little effect on lawful firearms owners, and should have very little effect on collectors. So that's just, yeah, again, the update on that. As soon as this gets passed into law, as soon as it progresses, again, if we go and have a look at the stages, it's been through the Commons, it's been through, it's going through the House of Lords. So we will see where it ends up, and when it becomes law, I will do a full update video, and maybe get some of your guys' opinion on, is it a horrific thing, or are we, is it sort of something about nothing. Another big thing that's happening, completely moving away from sort of specifically firearms law, but there's a big thing going on in Wales at the moment, to do with game birds. Now, it's again, this isn't an area where I have a lot of expertise, but it's pretty big within the game shooting world. Basically, I don't actually want to spend too much time like talking about this, although it's something that you should be aware of. I just want to have a little bit of a whinge and moan about BASC. It's been a while, so I think I'm due one. So what is this all about? On the 27th of March, National Resources Wales launched a 12-week consultation on proposals to introduce a licensing system for the release of pheasants and red-legged partridge in Wales. If the proposals are implemented, game bird releasing will be restricted and only allowed under license, giving an anti-shooting Welsh government the power to shut down game shooting in Wales. What's BASC's position? BASC is opposed to the proposed licensing of game bird releasing in Wales because there is sufficient regulation in place. The consultation is not evidence-based, and we are calling on everyone to act now to help Welsh shooters by saying no to the proposal. We need your support to win. See below for BASC guidance on submitting your response. Now, again, we are all one community. We are, we should all look out for each other. So whether you, I didn't make it big, did I? It's been a while. Anyway, this is I've just read it. Um, read it all, but there you go. You can see it big now. You can see the whole thing. So what? So yes, we all need to stick together. We all need to um, watch out for each other. Whether you like game shooting, whether you even agree with game shooting, it is a part of our a part of shooting within the UK. It is a part of firearms ownership, and I'm happy to go look. If the experts in the game bird world are saying that this is a bad thing, then we should oppose it. And it doesn't take very long. These consultations uh, are pretty straightforward and easy to answer. And I've just put the link in there. So please spend a couple of minutes, go through it, oppose it, and support the whole of this shooting community. However, so fair dues, they're fighting this. We were just talking about new restrictions and legislation that was coming in off of the back of a poor response of a consultation, and it's just very interesting to me that when you go on Basque's website, this is a big thing. You go onto the homepage, the front page of Basque, bang, in your face, right? Go and respond to this now. And there's been umpteen different news articles about this as well throughout the past weeks. They're really publicizing this, right? You go onto their Facebook page, right? Bang, it's right there. Featured article. They've changed their banner photo. Like there was a post 6 hours ago, and like all I've seen is this whole thing. I haven't spent a lot of time. Oh look, pheasant tikka masala. You can see. Look at the photos. Like every few posts, they're posting about this. Oh, what's that? Barbecue pulled rabbit. I actually like the sound of that. So another post about it, but you can see just through the photos how much. Let's go look how much they've been posting about it. All of this information. Act now, like the National Gamekeepers Association, British Game Assurance, Countryside Alliance, Wales, aim to sustain. Like this has been just absolutely flogged to death within Basque and Countryside Alliance and NGO. Why can't so they can do it, right? They can campaign, they can ask for people to get involved and respond to these consultations. So why can't they do it for all of these consultations? Why couldn't they do it to this level for the firearm safety consultation? Why couldn't they do this for the lead consultation? And it's just so abundantly clear that unless it's game, and okay, the lead ban does affect game, but we all know that Basque don't actually really care about the lead ban because they want us to voluntarily transition away anyway. So that's probably why they weren't. It's like, oh, it's game, but actually we sort of agree with it, so we'll let it. It's like as soon as there's a threat to game shooting, bang, like everyone wakes up, all the organizations start doing their thing. Just imagine what we could achieve or what we could prevent if they were the same for every single consultation. It just it does annoy me that they've had such a brilliant response to this, a response that I've literally never seen the likes of. But we get they ban Mars and Lever release, and it's like, yeah, whatever. They try to ban 50 cals, yeah, whatever. They're trying to make all components of ammunition licensable. They're trying to put ridiculous restrictions on 50 BMG owners. They're changing things left, right, and center. Trying to limit air gun use. Yeah, whatever. 2,500 response. Who cares? But this, oh, well, no, we're going to change our banner. We're going to put it front and center on our homepage, and we're going to post every single day for a month about it. Yeah. He looks like Arian. It looks like a case study for a certain other association to lead by example, perhaps. Um, any any update? Any update about the lead ban? Seem to have gone quiet at the moment. Appreciate it's being looked at, except wondering if there is any progress. To be completely honest, the best people to look, well, are they really the best? Where in terms of lead, where I find a lot of the information is through Basque. Whilst I, I do despair sometimes with Basque. Wow, what was that doing? No, I wanted to go to latest news. There we go. There is regular update bullet points. Firearms. Act Now campaign talk. They've done a bloody talk. Download our digital toolkit and help us fight back against the proposals to ban game bird releasing in Wales. Like what? Where was this? Where was this with a firearm safety consultation? For crying out loud! Oh, look, another article about it. Another article about it. Anyway, the whole lead thing has gone a little bit quiet. As far as I'm aware, there hasn't really been any progression about it. There's still a lot of discussions going on, but yeah. Alexander's Dale, hi Callum. I need some advice about practical, and I don't know where to start. Could I please call you at Magload? Absolutely. Please, at the end of the day, we are a business. There are things that you can buy from us that we would very much like you to buy from us, to keep the lights on. But both myself, Connors, and Paul, who all work at Magload, we're all incredibly passionate about growing the sport and attracting new people into it. So if you have any questions, I've said this before, like if you just want to phone up and ask what rifle we would recommend, whether or not you're going to buy it from us or somewhere else, like we're more than happy to talk about things, talk to people about that, like where we would recommend going and doing your safety courses, what sort of clubs are where. Please, give us a call anytime. We're more than happy to go through it. We don't have endless amounts of time to help, so it might be a case of we try and give you as much information as possible. But we might have a customer in the shop, we might be doing orders at the time, but we just might ask to call back at some point, worst case. But yeah, please, you can call. There's an email address for English Shooting as well, so you can email English Shooting, drop me a message through Facebook. I prefer emails. If you're gonna have any luck getting a response via message or email is always better. But you can email Magload, you can email English Shooting, and you can you can give us a call on Magload as well. So please don't be a stranger. And it said, thanks, and you are very welcome. And welcome the AK Militia. Beautiful name, to the Only ES fans. And as a reminder, guys, if you do want to support the channel, then you can join the Only ES fans, and you get to use all fun types of emojis. So Alexander Dale, member of Only ES fans, and AK. No, it's not militia, is it? Military. I can't read for shit. You get to use all these different emojis if you're part of the ES Only fans, and the more people we get, the more emojis we can add. So there's incentive for you. English Shooting. I think the UK will do something similar to California, where lead is banned for hunting but fine for target shooting. What do you think? Yes, I very much believe that is where we're heading. Um, what they are more concerned about is going out into the countryside and scattering lead indiscriminately. So we within a indoor, even outdoor range, the lead's concentration is very concentrated, right? It's all being shot into the sand at the backstop, which means it can all be easily recovered. um so we can control that as long as the water runoff is controlled and the handling processes are controlled, it will be fine. So yes, I think that is very much what is going to happen. It's going to be the hunters that really feel the brunt of this rather than the target shooters. But who I feel really sorry for are airgun hunters, because very little alternatives out there. And it's almost impossible for them to replace lead, and actually their contribution to the distribution of lead out there in the countryside is minuscule. So yeah, it would be good to not see them get absolutely decimated. David Kiddle, KFC is open for membership. No, that's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. For anybody that doesn't know what KFC is, I'll just bring it up for you. I'm going to put a link in a sec. Basically, if you're anywhere in the South Coast, and I know there's people even further away from the South Coast that join KFC. But Kentucky Firearms Club, KFC, is my home club. It's my home office approved club. I've been shooting with them since 2017, 2018. My membership number, I think, is 42. So, and now the membership is now in the hundreds. It is arguably the best, certainly one of, if not the best clubs that you can join. They are all about sharing the sport, getting new people into the sport. There is a link to the website. I can actually, I don't need to use this one anymore. I can use, I just did that all from one laptop. I didn't have to search or anything. Anyway, it's streamer things. But yeah, KFC incredibly inclusive. Doesn't matter who you are, what background, what kind of shooting you want to do, you will be welcome there. And they make it while still being safe and sensible and controlled. They make it as easy as possible to start shooting and get a gun in your hand as quickly as possible and start putting bullets down range. So there's so many people that have started this sport now with Kentucky Firearms Club, and the guys like David and the rest of the committee do an absolutely astounding job of continuing the club and growing it. They've got a range in Basingstoke at the Quarry where they run a number of different matches. Unfortunately, I can't make the first match of the year, which is a real bummer because I need to get back into the competition mindset. And they also shoot regularly at Bisley, and they're always looking at new play. They were shooting at a range over in Wales at one point, so they try and shoot all over the country and have many different places to make it as easy as possible to join and get involved. And as long as I'm not busy, I will be as many KFC shoots as possible. Certainly ones down in the Quarry. So, if you want a friendly face, if you're thinking of joining a club and you want a friendly face, then join KFC, because I'm there most of the time. Talking of other great clubs, I have to give a massive shout out to Pro Shoot Firearms. So this is Pro Shoot is in Wales. It's in Llanbradach in Wales, just north of Cardiff. And they ran like so many times. We've talked about the what is it? What, oh god, what's the match called? Um oh, all I can think of is extreme, and it's not. It's like the hard as hell matches. It's the, oh god, brutality, the Finnish brutality. That's yeah, we've talked about this, talked about that on this channel so many times. Those just absolutely amazingly complex, physically grueling matches. And Pro Shoot Firearms put on the Pro Shoot Extreme, and I was absolutely gutted that it was during my stag do, as I described on the stream. But also, what was mentioned on the stream is that it would be a very good match for Range 23 to go and cover. And Bob at Range 23 not only stood up to the plate to cover it, but he ended up going and shooting it. Not only shooting it, but won it. So fair play, Bob from Range 23. And he's done a full video of it. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So go and check it out. If you haven't been onto Range 23 previously, please do. He makes some great videos, and go and check out this video. I really hope. I know the Pro Shoot Extreme didn't have a huge amount of match entries to it. And I think if I hadn't have been on my stag do, we probably would have like doubled the amount of entries, because I think everybody, certainly that I know, that would have gone and shot it was on the stag do. So I really hope that they are able to put this on again, because it looks absolutely insane. Just the level, the level of like dedication and the work that's been put into putting on this match. And so many people, like, I feel disappointed in a lot of you guys. Actually, there's so many people that regularly watch this stream that goes, I'd love to do a Finnish brutality. And then we had the Welsh brutality, we had the Pro Shoot Extreme, and like no one turned up for it, or certainly not as many people as I think I would have expected. So yeah, Range 23 went and covered it. I'm just gonna like show a little bit. I'm gonna skip the beginning because I absolutely love the beginning. Go and watch the beginning of this video after the stream. But let's go and find some of the stuff they made you do. So stage one, the pyramids. Like, these were like 5-minute stages. Physically grueling. They do the cowbells, then you've got to do some long range. I think this was potentially one of the more tamer stages. Yeah, full on obstacle courses. And you're probably watching this thinking, it's still not that bad. Like, yeah, it's a bit more physical than maybe a standard practical, practical match. But then things start to get very, very interesting. The water stage. And apparently, I'm pretty sure these were electric fences above the competitors. So yes, you wanted a Finnish brutality in England, but like just the size and the scale of these stages, right? You can see the amount of building and time and effort that's gone into this. I mean, I feel bad just watching. Like, I feel cold and muddy and dirty just watching this video. But go and check it out. Bob does an incredible job of portraying a bit of Magload promotion there. Never goes amiss. Like shooting in the dark. And just to point out before anybody loses their mind, that they're crawling around with a loaded firearm. You weren't allowed to be in the tunnels with a loaded firearm before you ducked back down. You had to drop the mag and basically show clear, as they're doing there. So the firearms are safe, they are unloaded. But yeah, just something that you've never seen before at a match. And the amount of running. So I think they had to scale the side of the slag tip. That is genuinely what they've called. And then you have to take some rather long shots down into the pit. Like, looks absolutely insane. So please guys at Pro Shoot, Brian, put it on next year. I'm not getting married again. I haven't got another stag do. We will 100% be there. It just looks insane. I'm so gutted. It would be just my luck that they only do this the once and we missed it. But yeah, I know Connors would have done it. I would have done it. Paul would have done it. Arian would have done it. Dan would have done it. And I think with all of us going, there would have been even more people. So Yeah, sorry for taking most of the competitors to on my stag do with me. Um, but yeah, that's yeah, please don't be put off from this year. And I'm also just really gutted that I wasn't able to share it as well. And that's why I'm so happy that Bob was able to and has done such a fantastic job with the video. But like I love what the guys at ProShoot does, and I want to give them as much promotion and pushing as possible. And I just feel so bad that I wasn't able to do that for stepping up to the plate and putting on a match like that. Daniel, I am sad we missed the match. Yes, yeah, so am I. What are all the disciplines at KFC? It is mainly practical, but they pretty much do anything. Gallery, target rifle, precision rifle, CSR, and all of the practical disciplines. Well, on that note, I did. I got my pink slip for getting back on stream. My new other half has um, just reined me in for a couple of weeks. But yeah, we should be back to normal. But before you guys all head off, hit that like button. We are going to be back to weekly streams, and hopefully, please, Aaron, we'll be back to putting out videos very very soon on the channel and getting back into it. But there we go. I am going to wrap it up there, guys. So thanks everyone for joining this evening, returning back to the live stream, and we shall hopefully see you. Before I say that, it'll be my bloody luck that I've actually got something on. No, I'm actually free for the next few weeks. Absolutely nothing on Thursday. So we will be back, same place, same time. As always, magazines, they are coming. They are coming. Just as a quick, oh yeah, because it has been a few weeks. I'll just quick magazine update. Basically, so we had the design issues. That's all been rectified, and then it came down to production issues. And basically, to fix the production issues, we need to have a new injection molding tool made. Fortunately, basically what we told the injection molders needed to be done from the very start, they didn't do. So fortunately, they've gone, yeah, we ignored what you said, so we're going to pay for the molds to be remade. Thankfully. So yes, the injection molding tools are currently being remade, and we need that to be done, and then the next batch will be run off, and hopefully that will be it. But we are still very much working on the magazines and trying to do everything possible to get them out as quickly as possible. And yes, I will leave it there for now. Same place, same time, 8:30 p.m. UK time, Thursday on the channel. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you've enjoyed it. And of course, as always, guys, hope to see you soon.